Hello there. The number of income millionaires at banks in the European Union has increased significantly in 2021. 1,957 employees earned 1 million euros or more a year. The number was 41.5% higher than in the previous year, according to a salary report by EU banking regulator EBA. This is a record for the 27 EU member states and the countries of the European Economic Area since the EBA started collecting data in 2010. Bank supervisors cite several reasons for this development. The increase in the number of high earners is related to the good development of the institutes, especially in the area of investment banking and securities trading, as well as to the further relocation of staff after Brexit from Great Britain to the EU, and also to the general increase in salaries, they say in the report. Brexit plays an important role because banks were no longer allowed to carry out certain transactions with EU customers from London after Great Britain left the European Union. Therefore, they had to set up independent locations in the remaining EU countries and also employ staff there. This is particularly true for investment bankers and securities dealers who worked primarily in London prior to Brexit. Around 70% of the new income millionaires work for banks in Italy, France, and Spain. This is related to the increase in return on equity of institutions from these countries, analyzes the EBA. In absolute figures, Germany has the most income millionaires, that's 589 people or 30%, followed by France with 19% and Italy with 18%. In its justification, EBA points out that these EU countries are the most populous. The fact that Deutsche Bank, which traditionally has a high concentration of millionaires due to the large role played by investment banking, is also likely to play a further role in Germany. In addition, some major US banks such as JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs have relocated their EU headquarters to Germany. If you look at the remuneration of individual business areas, investment bankers and security dealers earned by far the seven-figure salaries most often. They represent 749 of the 1957 millionaires. The second largest group, with 599 people, are managers in high management positions. In addition to information from the 27 EU countries, the EBA data also contain data from Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, which belong to the European Economic Area. But Brexit is still a topic because support for EU re-entry is at a new high in the UK. It's just 2 years since the United Kingdom left the European Union. However, a new survey of the country's citizens has revealed that public opinion has changed a lot since the original Brexit vote in 2016. A poll conducted by Savanta on behalf of the British magazine The Independent found that a majority of voters are in favor of voting again on EU re-entry. More than 65% of respondents believe that another vote should take place on this issue, with many having opposing views as to when this referendum should take place. Almost a quarter, or 22% of respondents, wanted an immediate vote, while another 24% said a new referendum should take place within the next 5 years. Only 11% of respondents want a new vote within 6 to 10 years, while 4% believe that a vote should take place after 20 years. The experiment of modern independent government in the British Isles has proved a disaster for citizens since leaving the European Union in January 2021. Brexit has become a forbidden word in British politics. That was written by Guardian's Simon Jenkins in a recent article in which he railed against the decision to leave the EU. Not a day goes by that farmers, fishermen, businesses, nurses, scientists, or artists don't complain about the disruption to trade and the disruption to the labor supply, is what Jenkins said. Brexit has increased the cost of groceries in the UK by around 6%, and more than 43% of businesses see the UK as a declining investment location, according to statistics collected by Jenkins, driven by the ongoing impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and that reinforced him to do so. Britain is the only major economy in the world that has failed to return to its pre-COVID growth performance, is what Jenkins said, noting that economists see Brexit as the main cause. But it is not only the problems caused by the COVID pandemic that have led many experts to call Brexit a bad decision. The UK's Office for Budgetary Responsibility, the OBR, found in 2021, according to The Guardian, that Brexit has reduced the country's GDP by at least 4%. The longer term is that Brexit has a bigger impact than the pandemic. That was said by Richard Hughes, chair of the Office for Budget Responsibility, and he said this in October 2021 already. More than 2 years later, Brexit has helped push up prices in the UK, tighten the labour market, and prevent companies from importing the goods they need to operate. That was explained by BBC's Douglas Fraser. A Scottish retailer recently told me that a German supplier is refusing to supply small quantities because they have too much paperwork to do, is what Fraser wrote in a January 1st article on the Brexit negative impact on the UK economy. The Scottish company has to import larger volumes, which means higher inventories at a higher cost, Fraser said. It is therefore not surprising that the survey found that 56% of respondents believe that leaving the European Union has worsened the UK economy. 54% think Brexit was a bad decision overall. But will there be a new referendum after all? Nobody knows. Another vote on a session is currently unlikely, as the country is still led by the pro-Brexit faction of the Conservative Party, led by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And one mustn't forget, the British would not decide on their own about a return. And after the Brexit campaign, some member states of the EU and also the Commission and Parliament are unlikely to be particularly enthusiastic about an application for membership from Great Britain. And if there is ever a referendum, the British must also be told very clearly, and this time without lies, what a reinstatement would mean. There will be no more British exceptionalism. This means that if they join again, the same rules would apply as for any other new member, and with all the consequences. And it really remains to be seen whether the British want that. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.